This is Jamie Drummond for Good Food Revolution. I am here today with someone I've known for quite a while in the city, Michelle Paris from her new venture, Vini Ventures. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I'm excited about the launch of the new business. So I'm getting a lot of positive feedback, and it's great to be on your show.
Superb. Now, let's talk about how this new venture came about. How were things for you before the pandemic hit? What were you up to at that point?
Well, before the pandemic, life was pretty normal.
Yeah.
I have a business called Adventure in Wine, which is an education business. And I teach the WSET programs, and I was teaching WSET wine programs around Ontario, live and in person. And I'm also a Master of Wine student.
Yes. Okay.
And so the combination of teaching and Master of Wine, I taste a lot of wines. And when we started in my little group here in Toronto, my tasting group for Master of Wine, there were only 3 of us. And so opening up a bottle of wine for 3 people was a lot of wastage, especially when we were, opening expensive bottles. And we, years ago, came up with these little mini bottles. So we would split whatever wine we had left into the mini bottles, and we would have the wine at home to retaste. We'd keep them in the fridge, and they stayed really quite sound for a while, without any argon, without anything added to it. We just filled them pretty much to the top. And so when the pandemic hit, I was teaching live and in person, and in March 2000, I had to cancel courses midway.
Yes.
And stayed pretty quiet for a while until I thought, when the laws changed, that I could actually send samples out to students. And so I started doing that, and I brought the courses back online on Zoom, and they were incredibly popular and remain incredibly popular, because people get wine delivered right to their door, and they don't have to leave their house to go to class. So it's been really terrific. The extension of that, and something that I've been working on for quite some time, is how to get these samples to people in a more professional way. For my students, I was just putting little stickers on them, wine 1, wine 2. And, but I wanted to present something beautiful and really sustainable. And so there was a lot of work that went into that, including having the boxes developed and getting all the materials that I needed to make sure the wines stayed sound. So now I'm there, and I'm finally launching to people like you, Jamie, who are excited about this, and I've had some really good response from this as well.
So in a way, your wine students were kind of guinea pigs for this project, I guess.
They were, and they loved every second of it.
Right. Now, you've actually partnered with a good friend of mine, actually, Shamez, and he's actually integral to your plans for the future. Would you mind explaining how that relationship came about and how you're working together?
Well, in order to do these mini bottles, I have to have a license,
yes.
A liquor license, and the liquor license has to be pre-August 2020. And I had been speaking to somebody earlier in the pandemic, and that didn't pan out. And a friend of mine put me in touch with Shamez, and he was completely on board. So thank you, Shamez. And very, very excited. So I work with him and his license. All the wines are purchased under the La Palette license.
Now, when things switched over to these virtual tastings, working in wine media, I was obviously sent lots of packages of different variations on the small samples from 2 ounces and up, basically. And I was often thinking about how much hard work must go into doing all of this by hand. Now, you began doing this by hand, but that must have been a real pain in the bum.
Yeah, doing it by hand was messy.
Yes.
I had all different systems that I tried, including using jiggers, including using
Yeah.
droppers, doing it by hand. And it did end up being a very messy and
Yeah.
time-consuming situation, and a wait, and there was wine wastage.
Right.
And again, in my research, I was trying to figure out how I could do this. One, faster, and two, so that the wine didn't get as exposed to oxygen as you would when you're hand
Yes.
pouring. And so I spoke to a friend of mine who works for a mobile bottling line, and she really helped me out with some ideas. And I now have a system, it's a little system that fills the bottles via vacuum.
Okay. Those don't come cheap, I would imagine.
No, I mean, none of this is cheap, but I'm doing this because I really believe in the integrity of the wine.
Yes.
Once it's in the bottle, I also top up all the bottles with argon gas.
Okay.
I'm using this product
Yes.
called
Yes.
Art Wine Preserver. And it's 100% argon gas, food grade. And so what I'm doing here is, and that includes using glass bottles, is trying to protect the integrity of the wine.
I hear you. I hear you. You're also using a large percentage of recyclable materials for all of your stuff, right?
Absolutely. Again, that's part of what I want to do. I want to be as sustainable as possible. I know people say that glass is heavier than plastic, but glass can be reused again and again, and
Yes.
plastic does have a limited life, even if it can be recycled. My boxes that I use are at least 75% recycled material, and then it can be recycled as well. So I'm really trying to be as environmentally conscious and sustainable as I possibly can.
Now, I'm obviously looking at this from a kind of media standpoint, because I can see the application of getting these small kits for online tastings sent to me. How does this work with the consumer, and how can people enjoy these tastings with you? Because I see that you're using charcuterie and cheese as well. There are whole kind of wine pairing packages you have going on, which look absolutely fascinating, I have to say, because I'd like to see how that works online.
Absolutely. Well, there are a couple of options. I mean, there's trade, obviously, and but for the consumer, I have a number of corporate clients. One I'm working on right now, they want, just to give you an idea of what the package is going to look like, they want 4-ounce bottles of wine, and they want
Nice
a
size.
whole bottle of wine and a charcuterie pack.
Okay.
And so I'm putting these packs together, sending them out, and then they're doing, this is a client for their clients.
Right.
And then they're doing a presentation during which I will present the wines. One of the other really cool things that we could do is create little one-pagers that you could put on your website via a QR code that I put on the inside of the box that people can just scan and get all the information on the wine.
Cool. And is there any opportunity for kind of gifting coming up into the festive season and things?
Oh yeah, I mean, I've already got people asking about not only gifting, but holiday parties as well.
Oh yes, great idea. Yeah.
So holiday parties, and so the gifting is a little bit more difficult because I would have to have a kit that people would want to buy. Gifting is more, I think, on the corporate side where people are buying for a group of people.
Yep. Indeed.
I can't open a bottle of wine for one person, because then I'd be either wasting the wine, or it would be very expensive for the consumer. So I may look at putting together some packages that people can purchase, but this is more for people looking to buy 10 or 12 or more packs. The 4-ounce, obviously it's smaller, you could do 6. It's also great for holiday parties where we could do these corporate or private tastings with some special wines. And the other thing that I really like about this, Jamie, one of the things I really like about this is that I'm talking to wineries. about how they can use this to approach their clients in a different way
Mhm.
by sending out tasting kits of their wines and have the client taste at home little samples and go, oh yeah, I really, really like this one.
I
I'm
hear
going to
you.
buy a case.
Yeah.
So I've got a couple of wineries who are really interested in this already.
I guess that could be like a perk for wine club members that, they get this little sample of these wines that are exclusive to them, and then they actually get to make that choice. Going to a small
Absolutely,
tasting.
Jamie.
Yeah.
It's a really cool idea on a lot of fronts.
Now, with you being a trade veteran of sorts, I'd like to ask you a few questions about the future of tasting events. Where do you think we're going with that? I know there have been a number of events within Toronto over the last little bit. I'm not sure if you attended any of them, but the manpower needed to do a tasting in any way similar to pre-pandemic times, to do it within all of the regulations and the like, is yeah, it's kind of crazy. So how do you see that moving forward? Do you think we're going to see a continuation of these virtual tastings as we have seen up until now? Or do you think we'll see a scaling back of those big events that we both used to attend?
Well, I think that there's going to be a combination. I
Right.
don't think that virtual tastings are going to go away.
Mhm.
I think they may be scaled back a little bit. I think people enjoy the social interaction of the big tastings. In fact, honestly, a lot of those big tastings were about meeting people and
Oh,
chatting
it was more
as opposed to
schmoozing
just
and drinking wine as opposed to tasting. All right.
exactly. So I think that in terms of actually getting people engaged with the wine as opposed to socializing, I think
Mhm.
virtual is fantastic. I do think that live tasting is going to come back. So I think we're going to see a combination.
Cool, cool, cool. And I guess here's the sort of silver lining question that I ask a lot of people in these kind of COVID integrated interviews. What has been the most positive thing that you've learned over the last 18 months, whether it's a personal thing, a professional thing? I'd love to hear it. I never primed you for this question either.
I think the community, the
Yeah.
fact that my community has remained intact despite not seeing each other.
Mhm, mhm.
My friends, my MW group, which is now 7 people, met weekly and we tasted 12 wines a week because of the mini bottles,
Yeah,
right? So the community just didn't go away.
that's
It
great.
was a harder, and that maybe even made it a little bit more special
I
because
understand.
we had to make the effort.
Yeah. Well, Michelle, thank you very much for joining us on Good Food Revolution today. It is lovely to see your face again. I've seen your
Absolutely. It's
name
been
pop
so
up on
long.
various virtual tastings and things, but not seen you. Uh, I'm calling this face to face. Goodness me, how things have changed. Michelle, I wish you all the best with Vini Ventures, and
Jamie,
thank you for joining us on Good Food Revolution today. Bye for now.
thank you so much, Jamie.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.